You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. A huge shout out to Governor Anatoby for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my two golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode down at the Oklahoma Hall of Fame today. We got a food podcast for you today, and I know I'm going to be super hungry by the end of this, but it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our guest, Mr. Zach Hutton, who is a very accomplished chef and dresses very well. So thanks for coming down, man. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you having me.
So in your Instagram bio, it says, I'm going to pull it up, that you are a Beard Foundation semi-finalist, Best Chef Southwest, Country Boy Okie, Punk Chef, Twin Activist. Yeah. We can dive into all of those things. The thing that stood out to me, punk is in punk rock music?
Punk is in punk rock music, yeah.
Love
absolutely.
That stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Leftover Crack, Operation Ivy.
Yeah. So
these are my favorite bands.
Music was big in your life growing up?
Yeah, I actually was kind of a band nerd. I started playing flute when I was like 10.
Okay.
Learned to switch to saxophone. March did bluegrass honor band here in Oklahoma too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So.
I'm just born and raised here, grew up here. Like this is home to you. And what was has been?
Yeah, my graduating class. If I hadn't moved my high school, I would have graduated with 16 kids in Apache, Oklahoma. I think 11 actually ended up graduating from my class that year. Yeah, it's a little tiny town, like 900 people. So.
Where is that in relation to where we are today?
It's southwest of here in Caddo County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I grew up on the Comanche-Caddo County line, and Apache used to be it was an Indian reservation. It still is technically, I guess, but the school was so small that they absorbed it into our public schools too. So I got to grow up on the res. Yeah.
Have you heard Red Clay Stray's song called Caddo County yet?
I haven't, no.
It's fantastic. They're one of my new favorite bands at the moment. They're actually playing at Criterion in October. Oh, nice. Yeah, they did a song for the tour. It was on the Twisters movie album. Called Caddo County. It's very good.
Yeah, that's where I'm from.
Yeah. So growing up in a very small town, going to a small school, I mean, tell me about it.
Well, I have also a very large family. So in a small town with a large family, you're mostly related to everybody. Yeah. So we're in class with my cousins and stuff forever. you don't realize how awful it is when you're there. Like, everybody has dreams of running away from their hometown, especially. I think there was a whole genre of music about it. It's Midwestern emo.
True.
Yeah. So Ohio was for lovers, right? But we grew up on the ranch. My grandparents lived in town, and spent most of our time just around outside. Like, there wasn't much else to do. Jumping on hay bales, getting ticks, building clubhouses. But we did grow all our own food, and that was something that I hated doing growing up. I hated canning tomatoes. I hated picking okra and just being itchy for the rest of the day. But now, as a chef, there's a level of it that I'm calling my renaissance, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm falling back in love with the things that I hated growing up with.
Have you been back recently?
I actually was down there last night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we ran away from town for a day and went and stayed with Mom, went and fed the pigs and goats at my little brother's house. He's actually the president of the Farmers Co-op in my hometown as well. The youngest one to ever do it, by the way.
Yeah.
But so
still quite a big family influence down in Apache then.
Yeah. There's probably 35 of them, give or take, right now.
Are you the only one that sort of, quote, escaped to the city?
My brother's up here as well. Yeah, he got married and had a couple kids, and then got out of cooking for a little while, and he's recently, we worked together for a while, and he lived with me for a couple months. I kicked him out recently as well.
This is your twin brother?
Yeah, my twin. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm actually one of 5. I have 2 little sisters as well. My youngest is 13 now.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. What's it like growing up as a twin?
Terrifying. It's weird.
Is it really?
We're weird. It makes you weird. Something about never being alone for the first 18 years of your life. It makes anybody a little bit strange. But there is that. They talk about the ESP, like some kind of connection and stuff. Only one time has it happened that I actually believed it was real. He got in a wreck like 5:30 in the morning, and I shot out of my sleep. No idea what happened, and my phone rang immediately. He was like, "I wrecked my car. Can you come pick me up?" I'm like, on the way.
What?
Yeah, it's the only time it's ever happened like that intense.
Yeah. Hopefully it never happens again.
Oh yeah, I hope not.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's cool. He's a little grungier than I am, I think.
You guys identical?
Yeah, we look exactly alike.
Okay.
But
you guys play tricks on people when you were growing up?
When we were in school, we switched classes a couple times, but we both had the same thought, was get in trouble. It's like, he's going to be the one dealing with it. And then we both ended up in detention together in ISD. Yeah. He will go around. People will mistake him for me a lot, and he just doesn't correct him anymore. Like, you gotta say who you are, man. That's weird. I'm married. You can't be out there with your girlfriends. Like, you saw your husband.
Yeah.
You didn't.
No, you didn't. That's his twin. Yeah. Do you know Chris Murray? Chris has a twin brother in town called Kevin, and so I see them both out, and I'm like, wait a second, which one is it? Because I only know one of them really well, and one of them's got a wife and kids. The other one doesn't.
He looks a lot more like a coloring book than I do. He bought a tattoo gun when we were like 18 and started practicing, and he practiced on himself first, and then once he got better, I let him practice on me. So his are a little like stick and poke. But,
yeah. So what was the first one he gave you?
It's actually right here on my thigh. It says "bad idea" because he was like, "What do you want?" I'm tattooing on you. We just put "bad idea," man. That's exactly what this is.
This is
yeah. It's huge too. It's 10 years later, 12 years later, something like that. But
you guys close though?
Yeah, really close. He's we take turns being sad boys. Like we get our ducks in a row, and then the other one falls down, and it's a back and forth. But
yeah,
it's my turn, I think.
For now, we're good. Yeah. So, growing up in Apache, you mentioned, like you're growing your own food, so you have a food connection from a very young age. But where do you go? When you graduate high school, are you thinking I'm going to be a chef, or are you thinking I'm going to go to the city, go to university, and get a normal job, quote normal job?
Quote normal job. Yeah. I kind of always was fringe society.
Okay.
I liked the freedom of being in kitchens. I didn't know. I started working when I was really young. I got my first job at 15, pushing grocery carts at Albertsons, and then I got fired because I called in to hang out with my girlfriend. And I started a job at Sonic. I worked at Sonic. They made me a manager in like a year. I'm like managing 40-year-old felons at 16, and
small town stuff.
I was in the school paper, and my teacher Michael Ross. tasked me with starting a food column for the school paper. So I did my first, and he loved it. We had to do an entire page because of how much I wrote, and then he gave me a copy of Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain, which is a lot of people's story getting into culinary school, but like something about it resonated, and I ended up I sat on it, and I did work in kitchens for my entire career, and then finally actually went to school for IT tech. I learned how to fix computers, and dropped out because it was boring, and went to culinary school. Graduated second in my class.
Oh, nice. Where'd you go to culinary school?
Platt on Northside. They're no longer open now. They were still accredited when I went, and worked with some pretty hardcore guys. Chef Augustine Tito, he ran the Four Seasons in Belgium for just like 25 years, something like that. He's a crazy, mean old man that would throw your plates away, walk past and just slide it into a trash can. Like, what are you doing with that, chef? Nothing.
Yeah.
You're right.
I know nothing about the culinary, like, school world. Nothing. Like, if you'd have said, like, I could have said, you could have said I'd gone to university for food, and I would have believed you. Like, I had no idea what it.
It's a lot more hands-on. I mean, I did 2 weeks of knife skills. You do 2 weeks of sauces and stocks, and then it's broken down into pretty typical brigade kitchen style.
Okay.
Pastries, baking, and then there's a restaurant in the building too, and so we had to do that, and then also a 400-hour externship.
Okay.
Yeah.
So during this time, like when you quit IT, you're like, why am I doing IT? I'm going to follow my love and passion for food. And you do this. Do you have this just instant feeling of like, I've arrived, like I feel at peace, and now I have to learn this? Or was it a slower process?
No, I loved it. I think it immediately knew that this is what I wanted to do with the rest of my career.
Yeah.
I didn't ever think about the national attention that I would get. That was never crossed my mind whatsoever. It was just the freedom of
It wasn't like, I'm going to be Gordon Ramsay, I'm going to be a famous superstar chef. Like, you just like, I just want to go cook.
Yeah, it was a beautiful thing for me. It was peaceful. It can be quiet, but it's always like dangerous. There's always pain involved. It's always long hours. You're always on your feet, but you can say what you want. You wear what you want. And at some point in your career, if you do work hard at it, you get creative freedom, and that's the one thing I wanted. I just wanted to make my own food, and I wanted to give it to people and see their reactions. That's the addictive part of it, is seeing how people react to your food.
Yeah. How old were you when you went to culinary school?
I guess 19.
Oh, so still fairly young then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just turned 34 this year.
Yeah.
Technically I've been cooking professionally for 19 years this year.
Okay.
19 or 20 years.
We're the same age. Yeah, nice. So when you go to the school, you're 19. Like most 19-year-olds, you think you can walk on water, and like, I am. You know?
Yeah,
I did anyway.
I thought I was going to die. Because I was taking 36 credit hours a semester, and I also worked a 40-hour job. So I had about an 85-hour week. Yeah. And so I'd be sleeping in traffic on my way from school to work, like, have to put it in park. It was one of those, like, I know I want to finish it, and I know I can. And it had such a short window to knock it out. And everybody else that was, not everybody, but a good chunk of people that go to culinary school, they were much older than me. And they had not cooked for a living. And so I had a leg up just by having worked in professional kitchens before knowing how awful they can be and the type of people you have to work for. Nobody that's been sitting at a desk job for 25 years, 30 years is going to be able to walk into a kitchen and do anything off the bat.
Yeah. So during this time then, like you said, you're 19 years old, you have this prior experience of being in kitchens. Were you, like in school as a kid, were you just fumbling around, just like I can't, like kind of don't have a passion for anything, so I just don't want to do it? Like, were you just kind of struggling to find your thing, and then once you find your thing, you're like, I'm all in?
Yeah, that's I'm massively ADD.
Yeah. And
so compartmentalizing is something you have to learn. I'm terrible at first school work, but always tested high. That was, I was just never interested. Kitchens are always changing, especially, I don't know if you knew this, but Scratch, for the last 8 months we were open, I changed my menu every week. Completely.
Wow.
Yeah, it became a pain by the end because you're squeezing as much creativity as you can out of it. But we rotated with local products, so this is just what we have to use this week, which is not a new concept. It was just, but it is a painful way to
starting again every Monday,
every time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I mean, it's, like I said, it forces you to be creative and create things that you it's easy to be comfort and have the same menu and just like put it on autopilot.
Yeah.
Right. But then you strike me as the person who's just gonna get bored.
Yeah.
You know?
100%. Do a lot of moving around.
Yeah.
I haven't stopped moving since I've sat down, but I'm used to being on my feet.
Right.
So
So when you mentioned like kind of having these super long weeks, where were you working then at the same time?
I was rolling sushi actually at In the Raw in Bricktown when it was still open.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I did sushi for about 4.5 years in the Raw and Park Harvey. I was at downtown.
Why'd you go to sushi?
I liked anime. I'm like kind of a Japanophile, I suppose. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
But it was cool, Ghibli movies and stuff. Like you see, especially in anime, you see food illustrated so much differently than they do in American cartoons and stuff like that. And I got into it. It was creative and fun. And then I'm also part of the show because you're out front. So I talk to guests and like you get to sell yourself a little bit more. They're like, you can drink sake if you sell the sake. I'm like, that's much more incentive for me to work here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I sold so much more sake than like most people.
Yeah. That's but in that kind of high-paced, you're on show environment, like you're kind of forcing yourself to be creative, or forcing yourself to you're putting yourself under pressure on purpose.
Yeah.
You get to grow and enjoy it, and
if you
learn
put
so
a little
much
stress
too.
on it, you'll never see when you break.
Yeah.
Which, and I have pushed myself too far. I've seen lots of chefs. The burnout is a real thing. Like so many people just can't hack it. It sucks to do this every day. It sucks to put up with ownership and all like the people that need something from you, as well as maintain decorum and composure for your staff, and to be not only because as a chef you're constantly teaching. You never stop teaching your employees. That's the one thing that separates this job, because if you went in any other place and your employees didn't know how to do their jobs, you would be seen as a failure. But as a chef, we have the opportunity to teach consistently and to learn consistently. If I don't know something, we look it up together.
Have you rolled sushi since?
No.
No?
I did it until I hated it, 4.5 years was enough for me. I don't even eat it anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll get fried rice.
So how long was culinary school? Was it that long?
18 months.
Okay, so it is quite condensed to do that. And so you stayed in the role after you graduated culinary school?
Yeah, I did my externship through there as well. Okay. So I put another 400 hours in for them, and then ended up leaving to go to Park Harvey. Just more. Bricktown is a weird space. You never know when days are going to be slow, when days are busy. I just wanted consistency. From there, I've done caters, I've opened bars, I've been a restaurant consultant for 12 years now, 10, 12 years. Moved to Arkansas for a while and ran 2 restaurants there at the same time, and moved back to Kingfisher and built something new. And it's been a nonstop run for this last 10 years straight.
So why Kingfisher? Why'd you head out there?
That was the guy who owned the 2 restaurants in Arkansas. His name's Dave Rollins. The restaurants were Saki Sushi and Martini Bar, and then Stonehouse at Chaffee Crossing, which is a steakhouse and then a sushi bar downtown in Fort Smith. And he also does pipe fitting. So he owned a hotshot company and did drill wells, like stuff like that. And so Kingfisher is the K in what's called the Stack, which is Stillwater, Tecumseh, Ardmore, or something Kingfisher, which are a string of towns in Oklahoma that are full of crude oil. So that's where the drillers go. So he wanted to open something in a drilling town so he could have meetings with prospective buyers, I guess.
With good food.
Yeah. For a while.
Right.
Until I left.
Yeah. Come back to the city a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just fascinated to learn like where your head's at, like when you're because as a creative and someone who has to stay, you mentioned a little bit of ADD, like you've always got to have a project, right? And you're always going to be working on something, but that something is always super creative. And where are you drawing inspiration from? You got local food sources. I'd love to hear all about that stuff. Like depending on during that period of time as you're going through your life and growing, and you're in mid-20s at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
So the food became instinctual right around the time I got to Scratch.
Okay.
So when I got to the Paseo, Scratch had a concept. I was just working there as a line cook. Oh, okay. So here, let's preface this. This industry is so stressful. Right at the end of Kingfisher, I had been drinking very heavily, like every day, all day. Wake up, liter of vodka, like until at 26, I got pancreatitis. Spent 30 days in the hospital. I died actually for a minute. Kidneys and liver shut down, pre-stage cirrhosis, and they told me if you drink again, you will die. Period. Like if you start drinking again, you're going to be dead. And they said this happens to 50-year-old alcoholics. So I just pushed my body so hard and drank so much to cope with it that it shut me down. I was up almost 300 pounds at the time.
You were 300 pounds?
Yeah. And
that's why you could drink so much too.
I atrophied. But when I was in the hospital, I atrophied. You're not allowed to eat or drink anything at all while it's inflamed. Otherwise, it will just make it worse.
Yeah.
And it could rupture. So 30 days with no food whatsoever. No food, no water. It was all intravenous. And I lost 60-something pounds almost in 3 weeks in a coma. Got out, no insurance because restaurant industry. And $500,000 worth of debt, and teaching myself to walk again later. I'm 150 pounds down, quit drinking liquor entirely. Didn't drink at all for 6 years. I let myself have wine now on occasion. But I was about to lose my apartment and my car, so got back on my feet, drove past Scratch the day that it was the day they were soft open on accident. I didn't even know they were there. And walked in, they hired me on the spot. Within a year, I took the chef position and decided it needed a new concept because the Scratch made sense when they were making everything from scratch, but why are we doing it from scratch with pre-made, like, terrible products? So we started leaning into the local thing, and then by the end of it, we were at 95% for the last year and a half to 2 years. We never dipped below 95% small farm local. That was like the instinct was when I was starting to recook again, when I was getting back to what made me happy in this industry instead of just pushing. I started thinking about home a lot more, and so these were things that made me comfortable, was fresh vegetables, fresh produce, okra, tomatoes, squash, zucchini, like
the stuff that you hated growing as a kid.
I hated, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And so we started, how do we do this?
Okay.
And it started out by just calling every old timer I knew, like, hey, do you know anybody selling venison? Do you know anybody that's got potatoes, whatever? And it did slowly start to pick up. And then around COVID, Jenna Moore, and she was at the Paseo Farmers Market, got grants money from the federal government to start the OKC Food Hub, which is essentially a middleman for restaurants to get with farmers. So we had over 150-something farmers, give or take, that we had access to, plus our own garden.
That really helps.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
Connect that.
Go to mom's house and just
helps
pick
them
veg.
too. Yeah.
But it helps that, and then I started getting some national attention. I get the James Beard semifinalists for Best Chef Southwest, and that really like opened a lot of people's eyes to how much more we were doing than your average local restaurant is, because it's expensive. It's expensive to do that. But my mantra forever is the more of us that do it, the easier it is.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Wow. I can't imagine what it feels like to, like push yourself to that and have to turn to drink to cope, and then be 300 pounds and I'm saying you can't eat for 30 days, otherwise you're gonna be in big trouble. Yeah,
my tongue completely skinned itself essentially, and so I had, when I was able to eat again after those 30 days, everything was over flavored. Everything was too intense. Like I could smell sour cream and onion chips from across the room, and it was like gagging me. That did also put me like back in touch with like, oh shit, I don't think I've eaten a tomato before. Like this is all brand new again.
Which as a chef, like to have that flavor profile,
to reset
to have
it.
Such a really like strong flavor.
Yeah, it's like a baby, like a child's mouth, like it's reset. Yeah. So it's kind of a cool little like perk, I guess, of
you just go on like a hunt, like a discovery then of like, this is what this really tastes like. Yeah,
for sure.
Wow.
Always eating.
Okay. Yeah, so Scratch is why you get national attention then. Mm-hmm. That's the reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do things kind of snowball from there?
I mean, I did Guys Grocery Games, and I lost. It was fun. It's cool to be on TV. It's a little kitschy, a little goofy. And then I did end up on Chopped as well this year, and won. And but the episode is a themed episode. It was they wanted, because of my work with local and the things that we do in our restaurant, the theme itself was zero waste sustainability. So all of the basket ingredients were things that typically would be considered trash to most people. But pretty sure I killed it.
You won it.
I won, yeah.
Yeah.
But they were, at the end it was kind of surreal to even know that I'd gotten that far. And after, because I used to sit poor while I was still in culinary school, and we watched Chopped at me and my wife's first apartment in Midwest City, and she'd be like, okay, here's 4 things that we have in the pantry, so play Chopped and throw something together. But
wow, it's
always challenge yourself.
Full circle moment, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about like going on the shows and how that experience is as a chef, and what is real, what isn't real, and then obviously winning. Like, you know, that's a great thing too.
The realest part of it is the time limit. Okay. The time is real on all of them that I've done so far. Like, and that's fast because you've got 60 people running around out of frame, and boom mics and big crane cameras and everything, and it's like, and then the room you go out of, that's not the real room you're going into. It's like, they're like, don't tell anybody, it's like secret.
Right, TV.
Yeah, TV magic. But it's the cooking part is, I mean, so you get limitations obviously because of the games or the rules of the game, but you also have, when I was on Chopped, one of my judges was Muslim and she didn't eat pork, so they removed all the pork from the entire kitchen. They're like, where's the bacon? No bacon today.
No bacon today.
Yeah. So you can't fall back on things that you know are going to be crowd favorites.
Right.
So it makes it a little bit different. But I don't know. The shows don't have anything to do with the culinary industry, I think. I think that they excite the public more so we can do what we do.
Yeah.
So and obviously branding is everything now. Been watching, Kevin Lee's, this dude's everywhere. You can't get away from him.
What did you make?
What
were your ingredients?
The first basket was shrimp shells and shrimp, pickle juice, and blue oyster mushrooms. And I did a salad with the raw blue oyster mushrooms. I made a vinaigrette with the pickle juice. I did a shrimp shell dashi broth.
Okay.
And then chilled the shrimp too. So it's kind of a chilled soup salad. The second course was lamb neck. And what was it? I remember the lamb neck the most. Carrot tops, asparagus stems, and something else. Baked ziti, a day old baked ziti.
Okay.
And so I made a Parmesan stock with just the cheese off the ziti. Did the meatball I broke down and ground it and made the lamb neck I broke down into a meatball. I did a salad with the carrot tops and used it as an herb in the meatball itself. And then I confit in butter the asparagus stems, just tenderize it. And then for the last round was orange peels, coffee grounds, hot dog buns, and spoiled milk. So I did the expired milk with buttermilk and made ice cream. Did a crumble with cereal bars, and cereal bars was one of them too. So cereal bars and a hamburger or hot dog bun crumble as well. Yeah. But it was nice, and it all turned out really good. I was surprised for how much crap they gave us. But
were you surprised you won?
I was surprised I won. I felt way more confident in the second round than I did for the rest of the day, because I didn't tell any of them that I was JBF or anything, and when I did, they all panicked, and that was. Oh, really? I forgot that they don't tell the contestants anything about each other, and I didn't think about going in and bragging about stuff. Yeah. And then they all found out way into the day. We got there 5:15 in the morning. I think I left at 9:45 that night.
Where did they film it?
In Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
In Red Hook.
Yeah. So that why did they freak out that you were James Beard Foundation?
I was a little bit older than most of them, which is wild because they were all 25 to 28.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would if I didn't have that, and there was one person in the running against me that was he's already nationally recognized for something. I would assume that they probably knew better than me, but that's also imposter syndrome. You got to get in their heads a little bit. Yeah.
Well, and I think also you have to have a little bit of an ego as a chef too, right? You have that chip on your shoulder.
You do, yeah. But you also have to know humility because you fail as often as you win.
Yeah. So how does life change then? And when was the show? How does life change? Where do you go through?
I get recognized a little bit, but it's mostly in the metro. I'm whatever local celebrity, Gary England. Is he still around? I don't even watch the news anymore.
I think he's still around. like what happens in your career then after the show? Does anything change after winning Chopped or like?
So it was kind of a weird transition because Scratch had just closed down when I had gotten the call for it, and we were in the process of looking for a new job, and that's when we met Trent Ward and went to start working with him at Ghost. He hired our whole staff on.
That's the sandwich place, isn't it?
It was kind of bar food, just junky bar food. We did like upscale 90s junk, like pizza bagel, and I did chicken and donuts.
Yeah. Are they known for a really good sandwich though?
I mean, I was. The burger was there.
Okay,
yeah,
I swear someone texted me the other day that was like, "Have you had this place yet?" Like,
Ghost isn't open anymore, so it's probably something else.
It must be something else.
But I told him that wasn't really like my speed. It wasn't something I wanted to do. I would like to open. I wanted to get it back into fine dining, and local dining. And so we opened Alma, which is named after my grandmother actually.
Oh wow!
It's my Meemaw, and with them. But unfortunately, so from Monday, I'm no longer a part of that company.
Yeah, so you're in a little transition period at the moment.
Yeah, so trying to find something, just trying to find somebody who I think I align with more on how things should be done.
Sure.
And when you're in something like this, especially something so passionate, and you don't agree with the chef on most things, then you should probably just find a new chef. Yeah,
there's kind of like you're going to work with someone who you can align with. It's just putting yourself in a bad situation every day, right?
So and you take away creative freedom from somebody who the restaurant's family is named after,
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's fine.
But
we get used to that.
Fresh start. You're off to you can go after something.
We got prospects for days.
Yeah,
that's the one thing actually the shop has changed is that I could go get a job pretty much anywhere I wanted to right now. I don't know that I'd get paid what I wanted, but I could get a job anywhere I wanted.
So what do you want to do? I mean, you're in a unique position. You get to kind of think and plan and figure it out.
Food truck? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm still thinking about it. I know that my goal is going to stay the same. My goal for this long has been locality, spotlighting Oklahoma as a food state and as a not just growing food, but for what we as chefs can do here. We have an amazing bucket of talent here in Oklahoma City, with chefs especially. But I still want to be. I want to be the first food ambassador for the state of Oklahoma. Really, I want it to be as hyper local as you can be, and I want it to be meaningful in some way or another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how's that been? Obviously, the people are now well aware of Oklahoma City's food scene. Yourself, Chef Jeff, Chef Black, and Tab having awards and nominations, beard nominations. Oklahoma City is now becoming a place where people will travel to eat food, which is mad to think of. When you talk about your Bricktown days, or you think about Bricktown 10 years ago, or Oklahoma City 10 years ago, right? And now it's a place where people will come here to visit, and specifically pick out restaurants just to eat, which is amazing. And obviously you're in the thick of that industry, and a huge part of the reason that it, you're bringing national attention here.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? What's coming up? You get to, like I said, you're in a really cool position to just kind of
play the field a little bit.
Yeah, and point your attention to something, go after something different.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a tricky question. It's all happening this week. So I've spent the last 2 days. I went down to Apache and saw Mom and got to go feed the animals and check the farm out with my little brother. Just getting a reset. I feel like that always clears my head is to go home because there's nothing. It's so quiet out there, man.
Yeah.
And but that's always going to be my goal. How do we do it ourselves? I thought about opening something in Apache. People, if Magnus Nielsen, I'm not going to compare myself to somebody that's got Michelin stars necessarily, but if he could get people to take a plane and then a bus and then have to rent a car and drive to the middle of nowhere in Oslo or whatever, why can't I? 15 seats,
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be that hard to get to either, right?
No.
Jump in the car and drive out there.
It's pretty straight down. Yeah, it's like an hour and a half home.
That's what's cool about what Tab does. Tab Singleton down in Idabel.
Yeah.
Idabel's, quote, in the middle of nowhere
for
most people.
That's Living Kitchen, right?
I think so, yeah. He was on Chopped too, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Tab was on Chopped, yeah. And had a beard nomination too. But he makes barbecue in Idabel because he's from there and he loves it. Yeah, and people, they have Broken Bow next to there and have some travel, but people. I'm planning a trip to go drive to try his Wagyu burnt ends.
Yeah, I drive to.
3 hours.
People drive to Ishans. All the time. That's it's a dirty little hole in the wall fried chicken joint.
Yeah,
still smells like cigarette smoke. But it's
Still
good.
only takes
you
cash,
have to
too.
be, you just have to be the best at what you do.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is, just be the best at it.
Yeah. Tell me about the beard nomination, that whole like process and that whole kind of period of your chef career.
That was kind of earth shattering for me, honestly. I didn't,
because that's a huge deal.
I had no idea.
Right.
I had no even inkling that I was even in the running, or that I had that much whatever say over the industry here. But it's collectively been. I mean, it's hanging on the wall in my living room. I stare at it every day. Yeah. I still use that because being a semifinalist is great. I want to win it. That's someday. I know that Jeff goes first, I hope, because he's been nominated. I can't tell you how many times now, but it's definitely something that is still always on the table for me. That's something that I knew if I could do it accidentally, I can do it if I'm trying for it.
When were you nominated? What year?
2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's when, because I know obviously when Chef Jeff was nominated, it was COVID and they kind of stopped it, right? And then they brought it back for you.
And then Chef Black was nominated for national category the year that I got nominated for Best Chef Southwest. And then the next year was the year he won.
Okay.
Because they already announced this year's winners too.
Yeah.
But I think we got skipped a little bit. Oklahoma City got missed a little bit this year.
Yeah. Because it's been very heavy, not heavily, but we've had plenty of people in it.
Yeah.
Which is, to think, like, again, back to think of this food scene, like, it's amazing.
Yeah, there's always something new, and it's eclectic too. That we aren't hitting all the same notes we used to. Everything was a diner or a strip mall chain. I mean, I'm glad to see when an Applebee's goes under. Like just get them out of here.
Well, and I think I heard someone say, I don't think it was one of the food writers, might have been Dave Cathy or Stuart Hudson, said something about just like, when you see the population of a city increasingly become more diverse, food gets so much better, right? Because of they bring in all of their food and their recipes and their family, dinners or whatever it is, like, Yeah,
but it's also self-perpetuating culture too when you do that, because you have something worth being there for. So not only you get to expand that, but also you get more of the people that typically grew up eating this food too, because it's a comfort thing. That's why we have such a high Vietnamese population here too. But we have some of the New York Times said that pho Lin was the best pho in the country.
That's nuts.
Like, that's nuts.
In Oklahoma City?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's true though. Like, I've never had it better anywhere else.
Yeah. So on the kind of searching side, on the, like, for you as a creative, and you get to call it market research by going and eating places all over the country, which is the greatest thing ever. What's some of your favorite places here?
My favorite places here?
Yeah.
I don't want to give away the secrets. I actually do eat lunch at Milagros a lot.
Where's
People
that?
overlook it. It's a giant building with the blue dome right on the corner of Classen and Expressway. Okay. Like behind the Chick-fil-A.
Uh-huh.
And it's cheap, it's consistent, and they have this Milagros sauce, which is like an emulsified jalapeno sauce. And then obviously Majer is just outstanding consistently. Like Tamashi for ramen.
Uh-huh.
The burger at New State is killer.
Yes, it is, with thick bacon.
With the thick bacon. Also, Russ's place, Sun Cattle. Sun Cattle's incredible. I haven't had that burger reminds me of, we have a burger joint in the sale barn. You know what a sale barn is? It's an auction house for cows. Okay. And there's a burger spot in Apache, and that burger reminds me of that. Like, getting the burger at the sale barn is about as fresh as they get, man.
Yeah.
It's like you still smell, like, you're still seeing cows walk past. I don't know. I eat a lot of junk because I make things. I can do anything I want really at home, right? Yeah. But you want somebody else to make junk for you. So
it's work for you, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, you don't want to.
Yeah, I don't go home and cook. No, I go home and I had pizza rolls for lunch today.
Yeah, I asked Chef Black the same question. I was like, "What do you do when you go home?" He goes, "Order pizza."
Yeah, like I run into Chef Black every now and then. He lives over by me too. We had lunch at Sauced and he ate wings. Like, was there pizza that bad? Just like, wings don't seem like the go-to for the pizza place. But
do you have anything that is like like, this is my Chef's Act specialty that you like, I will like go out on a limb to say I do this better than anyone else?
Collard greens, yeah.
Okay.
Collard greens, black-eyed peas.
Where does that come from?
The South, I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know. Nobody else makes collard greens. Even when I do find places, they're usually canned or they're not collards or they're just like, they don't use enough bacon, they don't use enough salt, enough stock. Like, you need acid. It's such a simple dish to make, but everybody does it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with Southern cuisine. What Oklahoma has is a mix of so many different things, because you have the commodities program with after Indian removal, and it's this awful food. There's flour and lard and fake cheese and canned beans and stuff. So that's where Indian taco comes from, right? Fry bread. But then you have all this, the Freedmen post-emancipation proclamation. You have an entire black communities, thriving black communities, black-owned banks in Tulsa and stuff. And so you have what was Southern slave food initially becomes comfort food, but it's comforting in a new way, because you've got thriving communities now. It's not just because you're poor, it's because it's part of your culture now. And you have, after all of the awfulness that happens in Tulsa and Greenwood, and you have Polish immigrants, you got German immigrants, Irish immigrants, and all of this food is turned into one thing. So Oklahoma is really separate. We're not quite the Southwest, we're not quite the South, we're not really the Midwest, anything. It's just its own thing. Yeah. So I've been trying to I want to cultivate that into its own singularity.
Okay.
Like we should, but collard greens and black-eyed peas, I think, are the top two on that.
Okay.
That and cornbread. But if you don't put sugar in your cornbread, you're a crazy person, and you should go back to the East Coast.
After what you just said, like, it sounds like you love history.
I love Oklahoma history specifically too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a nerd for our
very
state.
Fascinating too. That's why, right? That's very different.
It is. Yeah, it's painful and it's fresh. Like, it just happened.
Yeah.
We're 110.
Yeah.
So.
Well, cool. Yeah. So you have that element to the history side of things. You love that. Obviously, you're a huge fan of Oklahoma. Food is your vehicle for that. Let's talk a little bit about the clothes side of things. I want to talk about you and fashion, because you definitely dress differently, and it's a good aesthetic. You look good today.
Thank you. I don't know. I bought, so Simpleton is a company here in Oklahoma City. He makes like wallets and stuff on Instagram, but he made these leather suspenders. I got them at Blue 7, and I was obsessed, and I wanted it to work. I wanted to wear these so badly, but nothing in my closet made sense. So I'm also very trendy and thrifty. So I Goodwill almost my entire wardrobe.
Well, we have plenty of those here too.
Oh yeah, they're all over.
Yeah.
And so I started just like, we talk about history. My wife's into fashion and stuff too, so I just started learning about like different eras in men's fashion, which hasn't really changed much. Just like the frame, it's the shape of it all. But I'm obsessed. I got 30 hats. When I say that there's 60 or 70 pairs of slacks in my house, like, that's not a joke. I have every different textile you can think of. Yeah.
What's your favorite season?
Oh, fall, winter for sure.
Because you get the layer.
I get the layer. You get the layer with the pea coat. You get bust out the old members only jacket.
All right. So best thrift story. What's your best find?
Best find?
Yeah.
Oh, that's rough. I have a couple vintage cameras that are really cool. I found an auto harp from like pre-radio. So it's a harp built with a box that's got buttons on the front that are labeled with the keys.
Yeah.
And it was meant to teach people how to play instruments without having to teach somebody how to play instruments. So you can keep your kids or your family like entertained, especially when there is no radio. You're not just gonna sit.
Right.
So yeah, that was kind of a cool find. I've got tons of silverware. I got a bar cart from the 20s.
Really?
A glass bar cart, yeah. Really.
Where'd you get that from?
Goodwill.
Would you know which one?
Oh yeah, I always go to 39th and Penn.
39th and Penn.
It's kind of over by Ziggy's. It used to be at Ziggy's. It's like something else now.
Okay.
Dispensary over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the place is amazing. I find so much cool stuff there. I've got, vintage Gucci and Versace, Yves Saint Laurent. Like, just randomly find it because you're close enough to Nichols Hills. That you'll get some of the crossover when the rich old folks die.
Yeah. So it's that one that's like across the street from Boulevard Steakhouse then? Is that there? Is that May?
That's May. Yeah, I know. You got to go to on
There's
Penn.
a different one on Penn. And
yeah, there's one on Penn.
Okay.
It's just north of 36th Street.
Oh, okay. So southeast of that. Got you. Yeah. Love that. I'm not ashamed to say I love a good thrift session too.
Absolutely.
It's where it's at. And I think especially with the way that men's fashion is going, there's some junk out there at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
And I am like from the UK and very like traditional. People here call it preppy, but like I would just dress like I'm a golfer as well, so like that's normal. Like to wear a collared shirt is generally normal to me. America's turned me into black jeans, black t-shirt, and a different pair of shoes. But media has as well. Like every media person wears black. But yeah, I mean and then like talking about your creative side, like you get to I know you get to wear whatever you want in the kitchen, but you get to really express yourself outside the kitchen as well.
I actually do dress like this in the kitchen.
Do you really?
Yeah, every day.
Okay.
Yeah, I got tired because you spend so much time wearing the same things. It was for a long time I was jeans and a white t-shirt and an apron or a chef coat, and I just got tired of it because I have all these cool clothes and I want to wear them. I'm like, so buying them used is much better too, because now you're less worried about it getting torn up or getting dirty. And so there's little grease stains on everything I own for sure. But so I just started wearing them in the kitchen. Suspenders are utilitarian. Like it holds my pants up. I'm white. I have no it's and when you always need to wash your hands, I can't be pulling my pants up all the time. It became fashion and utility.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Obviously, you mentioned tattoos earlier. Your brother's been tattooing. You mentioned the first one. You've got a lot more.
I do have a lot.
Tell me about them.
They started out like, well, what can we make? You think your first one needs to be pertinent. Like it needs to be important to you somehow. And I just kind of skipped over that phase and I just like cartoons. I have some Woody Guthrie tattoos actually. This is Wake Up and Fight. This is from his list of 100 things to do for the new year.
Okay.
And some of them were as simple as brush your teeth, comb your hair, like wear clean clothes. But Wake Up and Fight was number 33, and I'm like, that's badass. Like,
it's a great
definitely
quote.
that. And then I've got his guitars, This Machine Kills Fascists on it. I'm a huge Woody Guthrie fan, obviously, too, because Oklahoma, you can't get away with that.
So let's talk about that. What is it about just like that you love about Oklahoma so much? I mean, you could have, with all your accolades, you could literally go wherever you want to go, right?
Oklahoma's kind of like an abusive partner, out of all the things that I don't like about our state, I'm very proud of my family. My family's struggled forever. They were poor sharecroppers. They've been here since the 1860s. Like I can follow most of it back. And that I read my great grandmother's memoirs, and she talks about it was her and there was 13 of them, I think, at one point. A couple of her siblings died from Spanish influenza, but they lived in a one-room shack on sharecropper land. Like they just had to tend it, and my grandpa got arrested for moonshining. Like it's just tough old history. Like people didn't have you worked for what you got, you get what you worked for, and I feel like I made my way. They're still poor. We're all still poor. We're all still struggling in some way or another. That's just part of it. But Oklahoma, it makes people tougher, I think. But there's the kindest people I know are from here too. Like rarely do you go anywhere where people will stop traffic to let you out of a parking lot. That doesn't happen in most states. So something about that shared struggle, I think, has made us all softer towards each other. Yeah.
Finishing up, State Fairs at the moment. State Fair started, I think, today. Going on for the next couple of weeks. Are you going, and if you're going, what are you eating?
Ooh, if
you're going to get bad food, the State Fair is
we always go for the biggest corn dog, and then the pizza cone. That pizza cone is ridiculous. You don't That's somebody always throws up the pizza cone somewhere, but it's so good. I don't actually go to the State Fair very often, just because it's hot and there's too many people there. I'm kind of a recluse in that way, but I do like to go and eat and then escape on rides. They take these things down and put them back up way too many times for me to think this is safe.
They're trucked in and trucked out. I'm not getting on one of those things at all. There's no way.
Still got the same music playing from 15 years ago. It's just ludicrous all day. I do they do concerts still at the fair, I think.
I don't know, maybe.
To see if anybody decent's playing.
I know they have an Oklahoma section inside the arena, or inside the convention center. It's like a Made in Oklahoma section.
Oh, nice.
Which is fun, and it's inside, so it's air conditioned.
And Lio's really cool. They've been doing really good work for a long time. They're through the ORA too, the Oklahoma Restaurant Association. But actually ran into Miss Roberta yesterday.
Okay.
Or 2 days ago.
Yeah.
But they're really fun people. State Fair, maybe not for me though. I can make I'll make some corn dogs.
I need to be in and out.
I'll buy State Fair corn dogs at Walmart and take them to the house.
Love that. What is your favorite bad food then?
Ooh. Thin crust pizza from Pizza Hut, I think, is on the list. Calorie wise, you're just like talking like 2,000 per slice. And then I do love microwave White Castle burgers with the cheese, not without cheese. I got them once without cheese, and it was just an awful experience.
Yeah.
And they're actually better than White Castle. The microwave ones are better than the burger in the restaurant itself. We did the Harold and Kumar thing and drove to, I think it's St. Louis is the closest one. And they were so soggy. It was just an awful mess. We all ordered way too much. We're like, this is gross.
This is a disaster.
So we drove to Jack in the Box instead and came home. Yeah. I don't know why. How is a microwave burger better than something you make in your restaurant? It just blows my mind.
Because they should have microwaved it and given it to you, right?
Please, I won't tell anyone.
Yeah, make it easy on the 15-year-old kid that's working back there.
Man, speaking of Chick-fil-A, I can't believe what they do to those kids. I've seen them sprinting through the parking lot with their clipboard up.
My pleasure. All of them.
Is it though?
Like robots. Yeah.
That's wild. How do you find those kids? They have to build those kids in a lab somewhere. I've never had a kid. I've never had an employee once in my restaurant career that has been that energetic.
They do. That's the one thing they do in the food industry, and then they go on to college or do something else. That's it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It must be. Or they just stay in the farm and become managers at Chick-fil-A.
Apparently, it pays really well.
I think it does.
It's like 120 at Taco Bell.
Is it really?
General manager at Taco Bell is like 120K. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I thought about doing that.
I couldn't stay up till 4 a.m. dealing with drunk people coming through though. Like
I work in the restaurant industry. I do that anyway. First it's customers and then it's your staff.
Yeah, you just have a window of people driving by now.
Yeah. I actually did. I worked at a Subway for a little while. That was a terrible job. Panera Bread was awful too. Don't eat their soup.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, it's frozen in a bag and they heat it
Chicken
up in a hot
soup?
trough.
Oh.
It's like a hot water trough, and they just with bars across it, and they just stick the baggie in it and clip it to it and let it sit, and then when it's ready, just plop it up.
I do love a good bagel.
Oh yeah, their bagels are good.
Yeah, their bagels.
That cinnamon crunch one, whatever. Have you had that one?
I'm like a big fan of like blueberry and blackberry. Like any fruit bagel is like, and especially with double up with the cream cheese on fruit cream cheese.
Oh yeah.
Well.
It's like cinnamon toast crunch or something. Yeah, that's super good.
Yeah. So it's kind of, finishing up, obviously you're in a kind of strange spot here at the moment. You haven't, you're kind of in a nice spot where you can kind of plan and think and figure it out and do something. Yeah. I'm excited to see what you do get up to, but people can go follow you at your own personal Instagram, not any restaurant Instagram that you've been at now. Yes. So would love to hear you share that, and then anything else that is top of mind right now before we wrap.
No, that's I'm just Chef Zach Hutton on Instagram. Super easy. Follow me. I don't post crazy stuff all the time, but when I do post it, it's got something to say for sure. Yeah. But we're gonna have some news, I'm sure, about what we're doing very soon. I've got a couple meetings set up, but don't want to jinx anything just yet. Yeah. But, well, great. Yeah, definitely follow.
Awesome. Well, I'll put that in the description. People go click on your Instagram, follow you there, and stay tuned for what Zach is doing next. And yeah, man, thanks so much for coming in. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, people listening, we'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my 2 pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my 2 golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Bank's where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.